This is pretty crazy. Incomplete SSR domain Megumi is coming out tomorrow. They did not even wait a full week between the two first SSR featured releases. We just got Junpei, now a couple of days later we get Megumi. Not just that, they actually messed up the schedule even more, because with Junpei they just brought him earlier by 4 days. Now with Megumi he's here 1.5 months earlier. And on top of that, we skipped all of the movie Zero units and events, including Yuta and Geto. First things first, let's quickly discuss about what does that mean. Are they skipping the movie Zero events? Because possibly there are some conflictions and problems with the movie Zero licensing. That is definitely a possibility. Are they perhaps planning to have the whole events around Yuta come out later? Or are we just going to get in a couple of days another announcement that Yuta is coming out? Well, a lot of possibilities, we can't know for sure, these will just be my speculations. Number one, I am fairly certain at this point that they are trying to accelerate the global schedule so we get closer to the Japanese version of the game and at some point the two versions are synced. They would of course want to do that in order to maximize profit and eliminate the possibility of us players knowing what is actually coming as far as units go, so that way we don't know what we should save our cubes for and just pull for the newest character. Number 2, I still think that Yuta in the movie Zero units and events will arrive on global, but there are a couple of possibilities here. They might reverse the release of Megumi and Yuta, so for example Megumi is coming out now way earlier than expected and Yuta takes Megumi's place alongside his events, coming out around Christmas. Generally around the Christmas holidays, or even if you are not celebrating that, around December sales go up for a lot of things, so maybe they want to maximize profit for Yuta and release him during that period. Although, by seeing how fast they are releasing two featured SSR units in Junpei and Megumi, even though I'm pretty sure Junpei's banner didn't do that well, everyone just knows that if you want some strong characters, you shouldn't really be pulling for Junpei. But I think that we cannot exclude the fact that Yuta will still release before the end of November, so in the next 2 weeks, as he was technically supposed to alongside with his events, even though we are getting Megumi earlier. This might be not only a chance for them to actually accelerate the global schedule, but it might also be a chance to drain cubes from players that are saving for Yuta, because not only is Megumi a very popular character from Jujutsu Kaisen, he is also a very strong SSR. Talking about that, let's quickly analyze what he is capable of. He is a damage dealer slash debuffing unit, so he can definitely work alongside other main damage dealers. Gojo, for example. He doesn't necessarily need to be your primary DPS, he can definitely work as a secondary one. He has good stats, a yellow typing, and for his skill 1 he can deal taijutsu damage. If his domain is active, he can deal more taijutsu damage, and this time increases the damage received on the enemy that he inflicted damage. With his skill 2, he deals taijutsu damage to all enemies, and that is truly a great skill. Dealing damage to all enemies can be very valuable in specific quests, especially if he has type advantage over them. And if his domain is active, he deals combined damage, so taijutsu and jujutsu to all enemies for 2 hits, on top of extra jujutsu damage. This is an amazing skill, very strong. For his skill 3, he deals combined damage once again both taijutsu and jujutsu to one selected enemy, and increases that enemy's taijutsu damage received for 3 turns. If his domain is active, then once again combined damage, extra jujutsu damage, still increases the taijutsu damage received by an enemy, but for more, 1 less turn though, and he stuns the selected enemy guaranteed 100% of the time. So another very strong skill, not only with damage this time, but some very nice debuffing and stunning as well. For his ultimate, of course, we know by now, he has domain expansion, but other than that, he does very good damage. He also stuns a selected enemy. Unfortunately, the damage is not to all enemies. That is a disadvantage, but we do have damage as AoE in his skill too. That's why that skill is very strong. And he expands his domain. Now, while the domain is active, not only does he gain all of the skills we saw above, but he also decreases all enemies' damage, he increases all enemies' damage received, he grants attack immunity to himself, meaning he cannot take damage, and he decreases his own skill's cursed energy costs, as we see above, by 5 cursed energy, and skill 2, being able to be activated for 10 cursed energy, is very good. He is, of course, as with every domain expansion so far, unable to fill his own ultimate skill goes while the domain is active, and his cursed energy is getting depleted after the domain deactivates. His combo ultimate effect is pretty standard, and unfortunately he does not have passive abilities. But overall, a very strong character, one of the best characters we are going to have in global, that is for sure. Immediately he becomes one of the best. Combined damage, debuffing, strong debuffing as well with his domain, and even survivability and stunning. And now, a question everyone is thinking about. Megumi or Yuta? Who is better for your account? Who is better for you to spend your cubes on? First and foremost, I have to say, going for the one you personally like the most can't really be a horrible idea. Either based on the character from JJK, either based on their kit, you can go for the one you prefer, because they are both strong characters. It's not like you are going for Junpei over Yuta, where I can definitely say it's not the best decision for your account. If you like Junpei a lot, you can still go for it. It is a game at the end of the day, but meta-wise, it's not a great decision. Incomplete Domain Megumi and Yuta are both good characters, so it's not like you are going to absolutely horribly regret taking one instead of the other. With that in mind, who would I personally consider the best meta character? I think I am going to say Yuta on this one, for a couple of reasons. Number one is that Yuta can apply AoE damage to multiple enemies from one of his skills and from his ultimate. Megumi can only do that from one of his skills. And the other reason is that Yuta, in my opinion, is easier to use. It's not like Megumi is super hard, but to maximize Megumi's performance, you of course have to play around his domain. Without his domain, he is of course considerably weaker because, as we saw, he gains tons of abilities and extra stuff. But with Yuta, you want to just do damage, buff him, do some more damage. With Megumi, you are still going to do all of these things, but you need to wait for his domain to be activated to fully maximize the character. That does not mean the domain mechanic is bad. I like it, it is definitely an interesting addition to the game, but if you're not a fan of the playstyle, just take that into account. Another thing I definitely have to mention is that down the line at some point in the Japanese version, Incomplete SSR Domain Megumi got added and was able to be pulled, still is to this day, from the standard banner. That never happens with Yuta. So Yuta has appeared once in his featured banner, never again. At some point maybe he will get a rerun, we can't know that, but he has not been added to the standard banner like Megumi. That does not mean Megumi will be super easy to get when he is in the standard banner, but at least he will be pullable again and not limited like Yuta. So in the case, let's say that they were both coming out the same day, I would have to advise you to go for Yuta, but again, Megumi is still good and even extremely helpful in specific pieces of content. But for our situation, what is the best plan? Horrible situation to be in, that is for certain, not just because we got two SSR featured banners so close to each other, because one of them is Junpei. Personally, I never really cared for Junpei, but if you did, this is definitely extremely bad. The scheduling is all over the place. We even have 3 events on top of each other, which is horrible. But the best possible thing you can do is wait. And let me explain. Megumi's banner lives on November 28th. By then, if Yuta is about to come out during the month of November, we will get an announcement. Just like Megumi all of a sudden got announced during the featured Junpei banner, the same thing might happen with Yuta as soon as even next week. We can't know. So the best thing you can do is stall as much as you can in order to make a more educated decision if we hopefully have more information on the Yuta banner. Of course, there is still a chance we won't learn any information. Who knows, maybe Yuta gets announced and released November 29th or November 30th and we will all get royally trolled, right? But with how things are ramping up as far as scheduling goes, I wouldn't be surprised if Yuta gets announced before the Megumi banner leaves. Maybe he will, and we will see more banners when the Junpei featured banner leaves in approximately 7 days. So if you do not want to wait until the end of the Megumi banner, at least wait until the end of the Yuji and Junpei banners. I cannot of course guarantee you that Yuta will be coming during November. I can't even guarantee that Yuta will be coming at all with how things are going. My best guess is that he will arrive at some point, but with the crazy things going on and how fast the first week of the game has been, we might even see Hollow Purple Gojo coming next week, right? That's why my best advice right now is that you should wait. The decision between Yuta and Megumi is definitely hard. I understand that. We have one of the best and strongest characters to ever grace Phantom Parade in Yuta, and then another very strong character with such an interesting kit that definitely is appealing to a lot of players in Megumi. But at the end of the day, not only you should be pulling for your favorite characters, you should also consider that patience is a virtue in these kind of situations, especially with gacha games. Let me know of your thoughts in the comments down below about the whole situation. I would be very interested in reading them. And of course, if you enjoyed the video or hopefully found it helpful, leave a like, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe for more JJK Phantom Parade content, and as always, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.